Hey folks, this is going to be a really quick tutorial on how to wire up an LCD, the 1602A, that is very popular with Arduinos and Raspberry Pis. Of course, first I have to explain what these pins are. It's not actually that complicated, but some people think it is, so I thought I'd simplify this. First I'm going to outline the main pins here, which of course our first pin here is ground. Our next pin is the 5-volt pin. And here is our contrast adjustment. And next is going to be our register select pin. And that just lets you say when your data, when it's low low and high for data. You don't really need to know too much yet, just understand what it's for. Next is going to be our read write, or our, there we go, read write. And usually we set it high or low. And then here's our enable pin. Now our next are going to be our data pins. And really we only need the last 4 pins. We don't really use the first 4, so ignore those. And this is going to be data 1, data 2, data 3, and data 4. So these are our data pins. And next are going to be our backlight. And this is going to be our 5 volt for the backlight. Notice we've got 5 volts up there and 5 volts down here separate. And we've got our ground for the backlight. And this is useful if if you ever wanted to actually turn it off or on. I mean, in this case, probably not, but anyway, keep track of this. So our power pins, okay, we're going to have 3. 1, 5, and 16. Okay, this is our ground. This is our read write. Now, if we set it to ground, it's going to be right. And pin 16, of course, is our other backlight. Next is going to be our diode, or our LCD, and pin 15, as you can tell. Okay, register select is not. That was an orange color. Sorry about that. Only 2 pins for power. So those all you just connect straight to power. Now, let me go ahead and explain. On the Arduino, we have the liquid crystal library, which is the library that we are going to call to load our to talk to this LCD. Okay. And the command usually begins like this. First of all, you type liquid crystal and then usually LCD, and you're going to give it 6 parameters. Okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, 6 parameters. Okay, and parameter A, of course, is going to be the register select. You tell it what pin on the Arduino is going to connect to the register select. B is going to be the enable. Okay, and that's usually going to be pin 6, as you can tell. C, D, E, and F, those are just going to be the data pins. So that's the order you're going to give it, okay? You have to give it in that order. You can change the pins on the Arduino to anything you want. You just have to define them correctly, okay? Because you may see instructions in one way and another, but understand this is the order that the liquid crystal understands them, okay? So let me give you an example here with a code before we move on to the actual building. Okay, so if we typed our liquid crystal command here, this is at the very beginning of your script. You type LCD, and then you might type 12, 11, 5, 4, 3, and 2. And that way, you're telling it that pins 12 and 11 are our register select and our enable, and these others are our data pins. And these are all representing the Arduino pins, not the LCD pins, okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next part. Okay, so I thought I would build another one just to show you how easy it generally is. Now I laid out all the cables and everything. Now the first thing I want you to note as I'm putting this thing together is I'm going to focus on the power, the ground, and the positive. So every time, first things I'm doing is I've laid out all my wires. I'm connecting my first wire here to the ground, then my next wire here to the power, as you can tell. Then we're going to go to the next power. Here we go. Here's the next, well, that's ground. Then our next power. Okay, and always have the image right next to you so you can see that. There you go. Here we go, our next ground. Okay, now let's go ahead and put the volume here, the resistor. Now always make sure that you're putting this thing in correctly and carefully. You have your positive, your negative, and then your long wire. Okay, that's going to feed into, there we go, it's going to feed into pin 3. Now notice, I'm actually making a mistake here. If you're paying attention, you'll notice I connected it to pin 4. I'm not going to realize that until a little later on, but I thought I'd leave it in there just so you'll see I make plenty of mistakes. But if you take the right steps, you'll correct them. Now here I'm going to connect these 4 wires. This way I know where they're supposed to go. Notice I'm being methodical as I'm setting this up. You should do the same thing too. Don't just go plugging in wires all over the place. Try to be methodical. Try to do things in some sort of order. Okay, because this way it makes it a little easier. Also, if you pay attention to where I'm plugging them in on the breadboard, I'm not plugging them right next to each other. I'm kind of staggering them. Okay, so there we go. Ah, there's my mistake. I realized it because I have one more wire to connect, and I couldn't do it, so I correct it, and now I connect pin 8. So just organize things, make things look a little nice. There we go, pin 8. Okay, so just make sure everything's nice, make sure there's no problems with the connection, double check. Let's go ahead and plug in our Arduino and let us upload the code. So let's go ahead, I have the code on the screen here. And we go ahead first and check. And then we upload. Go away. Okay, and there it's done. And now let's go look at the LCD. Now initially it doesn't look like it shows anything, but we turn the volume knob and there it is. And the number that it's reporting, notice what's going on in the code too, so that should help you. Anyway, here we go. We can move this, and that's telling us how long it's been up. Okay, here let me just get this a little closer so you can see all my connections. Notice how everything is staggered there. Like I said, that helps the pins, because if you put them right next to each other, they're actually going to bump against each other, and sometimes they won't even connect right. And look here. Now here you can't really help but bump them against each other, but here, let me turn this around. Sorry if it doesn't focus too well, but hope that helps. Okay, so notice I was being methodical. That's what I really wanted you all to see. Okay, don't just plug them in everywhere, because otherwise you're always going to miss a few wires, especially when this gets more complicated. You don't want that. Okay, now I took from a different angle here. Thought I'd show you from this angle. Not only that, but this time we plugged it in to the 9 volts, so you don't need the USB plugged in anymore. Now if you mess with the wires, notice what just happened. So the LCD screen is very, very sensitive. Okay, and it's no fun if you do that, because now look at that. I can't even reset it. Any efforts to reset, they don't really do anything. So instead, what I do is I unplug the wire, unplug the power, and I plug it back in. And there we go. We're back to work. So I hope that helped. If you got any questions, let me know, okay? Okay, take care. Bye.